Good morning and welcome to another episode of Moms in Real Estate in the Morning. I'm so excited because in case you don't know, we have started a monthly series called Money Matters with our own in-house financial guru, Danielle Mckinley. And so that is today. And so hi, Danielle. How are you, friend?
Hey, I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. This is something that is like near and dear to my heart. As an agent, I was able to develop the muscle and the skill to make money, and I also seem to develop and build a muscle to lose money as well. It was like as quick as it came in, it went out, and so
Yeah,
something that is just so passionate to us at Moms in Real Estate, and I know it is like your jam and your thing, and what you specialize in is helping people to not only scale to those nice incomes, but to really know how to manage that money, how to
yeah,
diversify that money, and how to protect your family once they have come accustomed to that money, right?
totally. Yep.
So
Yeah, it's one thing to make it. It's another thing to keep it, right?
I always say, and I say this with the utmost love and respect for my dad, but my dad was that first generation American that learned how to make it. And then I feel as the second generation on his side, it's my responsibility to learn how to keep it. Because my dad lived, he had a very, very high income, from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, even to the 2000s. And then
Mhm.
unfortunately didn't know how to keep it through the 2010, through that downturn. Um, and so yeah, so this is something I'm excited to talk about. But I want to kick off a little bit with just some fun questions. And so one of the questions that we've had before that I would love to hear your take on is if someone's making money but they feel broke, what is the first thing they need to check?
How they're paying attention to their cash flow. So,
Mhm.
how are you staying on top of where your money's going and where it's going and when it's coming in? So, this is like budgeting 101, right? So, a lot of people that I work with are like, I'm making good money, so I swipe and I'm like, cool, I know I can pay it off. But then when you get down to it and you're like, I want to buy a house or I want to make an investment, you feel like you have no money.
Right.
It's because you're not tracking your cash flow. So, it's a cash flow tracking problem for sure.
Yeah. The second question kind of ties into that, which is what is the biggest mistake you see agents making? But would you say that like not tracking the money? Because I know I was heavily coached by the core. And if you are out there and you know Rick Ruby, like he's a big
Yeah.
personality. And I just can still hear Rick screaming, like, it's your job to count the money. Like I can just, I can hear, okay, I hear it. So but I will say again, as an agent, I think we get busy in the business, we get busy building the business, serving the clients, taking care of our families, especially as moms, doing all the things. And I can't tell you how many amazing powerhouse women I talk to that they are like, I don't count the money. I don't count the money. I don't know. I just work really hard and I bring as much in, but I don't count it. Would you say that's one of the biggest mistakes that you see that's an easy fix?
Yeah, absolutely. And it really and like so no you're not alone, right? I hear it all the time and the reason that it is so common is because we aren't taught how to manage money in school. And
Right.
it really boils down to like our own money story. And just think about it from a logical standpoint. When you aren't competent in something, you naturally resist it. Like you have this aversion that you're like, oh, I don't really want to deal with that. Like, I don't want to go look at my numbers. I don't want to pay that close of attention. I know my bills are paid. So that's great. But if you want to do bigger things, you've got to pay attention to the cash flow. So it's two things. What we talked about as far as cash flow and tracking, but also starting to really identify like what is your money story? And
Mm.
is it positive or negative? And then starting there, like even just removing some small, simple blocks really unlocks a ton of potential and eliminates that aversion or resistance towards managing money.
Yeah, I agree. Good morning. We have some different viewers tuning in from different areas. So, good morning. Feel free to drop your questions in for Danielle live if you have any. I think that that's really powerful too. Like you said, just starting to watch it and be aware of it. And I know, especially as you get into the higher income circles and the higher earner circles, I have a friend that always says, like, it's easier to just make more. And in theory, in theory, in this industry, we are blessed to kind of be able to put a big accelerator on income, but I also find that like I want to make informed decisions.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it's $20 here, $20 there, but that adds up. And I bet every mom watching this can relate to the fact that I feel like it's more expensive to be in business than it ever
Yeah.
has. Like back in the day when I was running a big team, it made sense to have tens of thousands of dollars of an overhead. But today I'm an individual producing agent. For the most part, I have a team, but we don't operate that same model. Because for the
Sure.
most my expenses are, limited to, and I'm like, dang, I mean, it costs thousands of dollars a month to be in business. And so I kind of like, I kind of want to know where the 20 here, the 20 there, the 40 there is all adding up. And so one of the things, Danielle, that you have shared previously with our community is your State of the Union. And I feel like that's something that gives you that heightened awareness. And also for real estate agents who tend to have shiny object syndrome and are continually like, oh, I'll just try this out or I'll check this out.
Yeah.
I feel like the State of the Union also is that layer of protection to continually be scrubbing finances. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, totally. So here's how I want you to think about it. Like, let's take the same approach as you would with your business. So we're always looking to work smarter, not harder, right? That's why you develop systems. Maybe you get a team, you get a transaction coordinator, you get a VA, and you're doing all of these things so you can go make more money. So having a organizational strategy like my State of the Union is how you make your money work smarter, not harder. Okay, so think of it that way. Like it's
Yeah.
just one more thing that you're making stretch yourself further. You're having that expansion and you're creating more abundance for yourself. So the State of the Union is a monthly 2-hour meeting. It doesn't like I've been doing this for years. So now mine sometimes is 30 minutes, sometimes it's an hour and a half. It just depends on what's going on. But I always like to set the right expectations so that you're not like frustrated. So initially, when you're implementing a State of the Union for your business, you want to plan for 2 hours because you're getting a system in place for how to pull your financial documents, for what questions do I need to look at. You might uncover some things that you're like, oh shit, I should have dealt with that a long time ago, right? And having those accountability checkpoints. But I guarantee that if you implement a State of the Union for your business, you will end up with more net revenue, right? Because there's gross and then there's net, more net revenue in 12 months than the year prior.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of goes back to, one of the things I run in my business is the 12-week year. And it's just because
Yeah.
that bite-sized time is so much easier to control, especially, going back to being moms and being women in our business. And like life throws so many things at us. And so you're right. It's like there's just all these things we might not realize, but if we're continually building that muscle to look at it, we can we can catch it sooner and get ahead of it. So I love that. And one of the things that you said, I was actually at a retreat and you were there. And I liked that you said this, and I think it's really valuable, and I want to share it with our moms, is that you said, get yourself an accountability partner. And I'll be honest, I cringed a little, not because I've built the muscle to be transparent and share financials, because the way that I was coached, we had to turn in, our numbers. We had to turn in, I would sit around a round table, talk about intimidating, and she'd say, all right, let's hear your numbers, and like, let's break it down. And at the time I was building my business, and there was like big guys at the table, and I was like, all right, let's share my numbers. But not everybody feels comfortable with that, and not everybody wants to do that. And what you said was powerful is, hey, this isn't an accountability partner where you're going to have to share your financials with. It's just an accountability partner that you're actually holding each other up accountable to have your State of the Unions. And so do you find that helps agents to actually build, start getting this done?
100%. So call it, like I like to call it, your money buddy. So you know how you have a gym buddy, you have like those things. So this will be your money buddy. And it's where even if you just show up on Zoom, like you don't necessarily have to go to the same place or be physically present together, but to know that someone else is counting on you to do it, it's more the likelihood of you executing is so much higher. And if you're like, yeah, that still won't work, I'll probably push it off, then invest in yourself. The best investment you can make is in you, and invest in a money mentor like myself or someone in your area or somebody else that you know, like, and trust that can hold you accountable and really accelerate your progress when it comes to money.
Yeah. And you said, find somebody like, and trust. And I think that the trust component is really important because it can be vulnerable. Like,
Yes.
as you said, like, the net versus the gross, this industry in general tends to be so driven towards the wrong data and the wrong metrics. It's a GCI driven industry. And a lot of times because we are, we're building this business and we just kind of get busy going in it. We also focus on those numbers. And sometimes we can not realize how unhealthy the business is, like in a GCI compared to an NCI, ratio. And as people discover that, what I have found with, with agents and even myself at one point, because I was like, all right, I'll learn how to make the money. And then I was like, oh, there's taxes. And so like one of my
Yeah.
biggest hurdles was taxes, right? And then I went from underpaying the IRS $100,000 to overpaying the IRS close to $100,000. And that's almost equally as painful, let me tell you. But I can honestly say firsthand, I know what it's like to feel just like a little bit of that heaviness and that awkwardness. And like for me, Danielle, just being so transparent, like it was not a lack of like not trying to hire the right professionals and like get them, but it was like getting people. There's so few people that I do feel like are completely knowledgeable, skilled, trustworthy,
Yeah.
and non-judgmental. I really do.
Yeah.
Because it's like either people are like, oh yeah, I'm not taking that on, like you're not where you need to be for me to help you, or it's like yeah, sure, we'll do it, and then they make it a bigger mess. So I've had a lot of people like make things a bigger mess for me. So Danielle, something that like, what would you say to the mom that's watching right now that's like, yeah,
Mhm.
I want that, but they're either feeling like they don't make enough yet, or maybe they make plenty but they feel like for the success that they have achieved, their financials should be somewhere else, like, and they're just having those insecurities. Like what do you say to those people that
Yeah.
need that money mentor but just have like some hesitation around it?
So, one, like you're not alone. I've seen every single problem under the sun. I've worked with people who are just getting started, people who are completely in debt and like are struggling, like keeping their head above water, to people that are earning 7, 8 figures, even 9. Right. So it is literally like it's the gamut, and you're not alone, but your resistance to doing something about it is a block that's keeping you stuck.
Mhm. That's good.
So if you want change, you've got to take action, right? So if you're feeling like, gosh, I feel called to like deal with this, or like my money situation has been on my heart, or it's taking up space in my brain, then I would say like check out my So To challenge. I actually have launched one. It's launching on March 3rd. So it's perfect timing for this conversation. And it's a great way to kind of dip your feet in and get some really good resources and get a foundation going. It's for anybody. It doesn't matter where you're at. And it'll give you some resources like a step-by-step guide for how to run your So To. Things like a template for your cash flow tracking, how to use it, that kind of thing. So if you're feeling called, there's a reason for it. Listen to it and just find the right one, and that's a good way to do it sort of on your own in the comfort of your own brain, and then you can decide what's best for you from there.
I love that. I feel like we as agents collectively, and I'm grouping all of us in here, so forgive
Yeah.
me, because I know we don't all operate this way, but we've all had that like hard call, that that frog, eat that frog, right? We've all had that thing that we're supposed
Yeah.
to do, and then we don't do it, and it takes us like 6.5 weeks or 6.5 months, and
Yep.
then we do it, and we're like, that, like, why didn't I just do that? It
Yes.
literally took like 45 seconds,
Well,
and I feel like that's the same
we
with
always
money.
make things harder. Like the story that we create is always the most negative because our brains are wired to go that way. But think about money, like dealing with your money, like going to the gym. Like we all want 6-pack abs, right? Who the freak doesn't? But you're not going to get those if you're not eating right and if you're not going to the gym. And then when we like skip the gym, we're like down on ourselves. But when we do it, we feel so good afterwards. It's the same
100%,
thing. So the
100%.
longer you wait, the more resistance you have to it, the harder it's going to be to get started. And once you get started, you're going to be like, oh, why didn't I do that 6 months ago?
Yeah, I agree. Danielle, I have a fun question for you. What's a
Yeah.
money myth that just drives you crazy? A money myth that just like absolutely drives you crazy?
A money myth that drives me crazy. The one that really irks me is that people have a misconception that life insurance only pays when you die. Drives
Mm.
me crazy.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit, because you and I, I kind of joke that Danielle had me at life insurance because I have had, again, just transparent. Since I'm on here with you, I'll be your guinea pig. I
Yeah.
would aim to bet Danielle has not seen a Randy yet. I would aim to bet she has not seen a Randy yet. I just have an array of things, and I have all the things. But one of the things that I got into place very early, not very early on, but as soon as my financial ability would allow it, was a high value life insurance policy. Because
Yeah.
for me, we as a family have seen a lot of loss. We've experienced that. And then there was just this thing inside of me, deep inside of me, that was like, if my children ever lose me, the last thing I want them to have on top of trying to mourn me is that deep rooted like financial issues. Like I don't want that. Like I want them to be able to go on a trip. I want them to be able to like enjoy me and to know that they're secure. And so that was something that was big for me. And it's funny because I actually went through it twice. I got it, and then true to our nature, like we're all over the place, and then I didn't keep it, and so then I had to get it a second time.
Yeah.
And so Danielle and I were talking because I had shared that one of my passive income goals when I started doing revenue share was like, what if I can just pay for my life insurance? And that was my first goal in agent attraction and revenue share, was to pay for that life insurance policy. And then I added one for my husband, and on it went. But it was funny because Danielle was like, yeah, that's great, but like, what about all the living benefits? And I am thankful that I do have a policy that has living benefits, but that wasn't my driver. And I don't think it's most moms' driver. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I do think we just think about that like worst case scenario. We're gone and we want to make sure our family's okay. So what are the other side of, the benefits of life insurance?
Yeah. So a couple of things really great for entrepreneurs is that there are policies that actually cash accumulate. So it acts as like a supplement to your retirement planning. And it's a really great way to also secure your money in the event that the unexpected happens. You get injured, there's some big financial expense that you need. You can access that money tax-free, penalty-free anytime. So you can start after 5 years. So when you do those ones after 5 years, you can access it anytime. So that is a huge one that I like to talk about with entrepreneurs. And then that one and other policies like mortgage protection and things like that, they come with living benefits. And so living benefits, basically to keep it really simple, if you become critically, chronically, or terminally ill, even disabled on some of them, you can use up to 80% of the death benefit while you're alive. So now it lessens that burden, and it also prevents you from dipping into your savings or your personal 401k and other investments to address the need that you have financially then and there. So that is really key. And like, all policies are not created equal. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I have one, I'm good, always like periodically check and have it reviewed. And if you're somebody that's been on the fence about getting protection, life insurance is based on your health, habits, and age. So like the time to get it is yesterday, even better time is today, but the longer you put it off, you may not even be able to qualify for it. So it's really important. It's a big piece of like a business contingency plan and just overall financial security for you, your loved ones, and everything. Oh, I think Randy's frozen. We'll do a little dance for her.
We're back.
Yeah.
You froze on us for a second. No, you're so right. And I think that is I went through that, Danielle. I think my first policy was, I want to say my first policy was 3.5 million, maybe even 4 million. And it was like $350 a month. Maybe 300 a month. And then when I had that gap and then I came back and got it, my very first policy was 95 a month for $1 million. And then it was that one. And then I think now I'm upwards of, I'm towing 500 a month for like 2.5 million. So not only did the policy amount go up, but then my coverage came down. So I think that's a really good point. Like, have that conversation sooner rather than later. Right.
Well, and there's so many ways to structure them. I have 4 different policies on myself. I have a return of premium. I have a cash accumulation. I have a high payout one that's a term policy. There's so many ways you can do it. And you definitely don't need to it depends on what your goals are with it. Right. But if you're operating under the assumption of this wouldn't happen here, but I hear it a lot. Like, I don't have kids, so I don't need it. It's like, well, who's going to take care of you if something happens? Right. But if you're operating under the assumption that it only pays when you pass away, that couldn't be further from the truth.
So good. Well, Danielle, a couple things I want to share with the audience. Number one, mark your calendars for the 4th Monday of every single month, because that is going to be our Money Matters episode. And so drop your questions, because Danielle's going to be here. We're going to answer your questions live, and you'll be able to connect with Danielle. And then also you have something coming up where they can tap in as well, right? Do you want to talk about that real quick as we wrap up?
Yeah. So we talked about it a little bit, which is the SO2 challenge, right? That they can tap into, and then really be active in sending your questions. I want to go over how to leverage credit cards, investing
Yes.
101, things like that. So that's some of the material you can expect from these shows. So tune in, watch the replays, and definitely connect with the admins on questions that you have for me. I love helping people with their money. It literally sets my soul on fire. So don't be shy.
Well, and we're excited to bring you here. And if you don't know this about Moms in Real Estate, Kristen and I work very hard behind the scenes to vet our partners. We don't just bring anybody in front of you guys because, again, we know firsthand what it's like to hire the wrong people. And so Danielle is somebody that is highly trusted by Moms in Real Estate. And we have Kristen in particular gets to spend a ton of time with her in Arizona, but she's available to all of our moms in real estate. And she is somebody that, no matter where you are, like she said, it sets her soul on fire. She just wants to help you go from where you are to your next goal and even make that bite-sized and obtainable for you. So no matter where you're at, reach out, make that connection. Danielle, we're so excited to have you as a partner, and we can't wait for the challenge and for our next Money Matters episode.
Awesome. Me either. Thank you for having me.
Of
Have a
course.
blessed
Thanks
day.
for being here. Bye, guys.
Bye.